Let's get into this. So, our first and only review of the day is going to be for the anime series Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon. No, it is not about the creature of the Black Lagoon. It's about this lagoon company there, which is a company made up of mercenaries, pirates. There's, you would say, you have a crew. You have Dutch. You have Revy, and you also have. Let me see to find the other name of the member there as well.
Oh,
Um,
Betty.
Benny, and then a new member that kind of comes along there who's our kind of audience avatar character, um, who joins the crew after being kidnapped by them initially. And that character who they give him the nickname Rock there as well. And I kind of maybe kind of guessed or maybe maybe somewhat kind of speculated that is his name based off of The Rock, which was the Michael Bay, Nicolas Cage film there. I kind of wondered that, but could be just also just his name, shorten it. It's like his name is the ROK, so they probably just shorten it as like Rock or whatever. But yeah, you'll see this kind of world. It's not an anime where it's too over exaggerated. I mean, in terms of maybe the action, it is. I mean, you'll see a lot of shootouts. You'll see a lot of bullets whizzing everywhere, a lot of violence, a lot of blood there. But there's no demons. There's no supernatural creatures there. There's no tentacle monsters. There's none of that kind of talking animals or anything like that. That's happening in this. Pretty much
A
just
little
straight
Cowboy Bebop-esque.
Cowboy Bebop-esque about people just trying to make it. I would say that the crew here, the Lagoon Company, who are like mercenary pirates, much more deplorable than Cowboy Bebop crew. Because
Yes.
the Cowboy Bebop crew, like, they're kind of like, when push comes to shove, it's like they'll do the good thing. You know what I mean? Always
Yeah.
they'll do the right thing. They'll help the people. They'll sacrifice making the money. But these people,
Save the world if they have to.
yeah, you know what I mean? They act like it's like, I don't care about anybody, but you really care. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Spike, you care, Faye, you care, you know. But these people, nah, they care about that money. I mean, they want to make the money, they want to do the job, they want to get it done. And a lot of these people are unhinged, and you have to be almost unhinged and to operate in the world that they're operating in. And the world that they're operating in, is full of terrible people. Even more terrible than them when you look at it in comparison. It's very almost Quentin Tarantino, Guy Ritchie s type of world here, where it's like full of assassins, full of killers. They do deals with different amounts of terrible people, the mafia, the Russian gangs, cartels, doing various jobs. They have a close relationship with a woman who runs up a Russian mafia called Hotel Moscow. There, and her name was Balikia. Is I'm saying that right? Balika.
Balakia, I think. Yeah.
Balikia there, who she heads up the Russian mafia. She's one of the high officers there. She does a lot of dealings with the Lagoon Company, and she's also very stone cold in her approach there of things. And you see a little bit of her backstory and history there, and the history of this world as well. That's kind of integrated here. And this is set in the '90s. Here, this series is kind of set very much mid kind of '90s. Even though the anime in itself, I believe the anime premiered in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the first episode was
2007.
2006. So it's like
2006.
the early 2000s there that this premiered. But yeah, like I said, I mean, they're doing a lot of all these different jobs. The first season, I think, is much more about the crew, about the different personalities on the crew. Dutch is the leader of the crew. He's the tall black man that you see. Benny is the computer guy, the IT person there that operates a lot of things there. And they all live on a ship. They live on the ship there, and he's kind of the IT navigator person there that lives kind of that helps with beneath the ship. Who's a Jewish man himself. You have Revy, who I guess you could say she's the enforcer of the crew. Definitely, she's the one that goes around, especially with her two pistols, shooting up everything. Mainly one of the hot-headed, more of the people in
Yeah.
the group for sure.
The
Um,
wild card.
the loud kind there. I think she, along with Rock, probably the two main people that you kind of see there most of throughout the show. But yeah, she's very much, yeah, very, very much of a fighter. And then you also have Rock, who at the beginning of the series we see him very much. personality wise does not fit with this crew at all. Very sweet natured guy. Like I said, he was just a mild mannered businessman, salary guy that was working for this company. All of a sudden, he gets kidnapped and then wrapped up into this world, and then eventually joins the crew. And then his kind of role on the crew is kind of to be like a little bit of the front face of the crew, the negotiator. The people that kind of he really does care about things. Like, and throughout the series, you don't really see him become too jaded about things. He still really does care about people, like you see throughout, especially when he runs into different people. There's some great episodes here. For example, there's an episode where he runs into a yakuza's boss's daughter there, who the yakuza member he dies, and then she has to take over and assume the role there of head the head member there of the family, and he's trying to help her. There's a point where probably one of the darkest episodes of it, where it was involving two children, brother and a sister there. And just he just breaks down. He's just like, man, this is sick, man. Like, I can't do this. Like, this is terrible.
That was
So
like berserk levels of bleak at that point.
yeah, he was like, man, it's like, especially where it ends at the end, it's like, oh man, it's like, geez. I guess, I mean, guess it's the happiest this could have ended, I guess, for both these characters. So this is not a long series. It's only, if you include the OVA episodes there, which is kind of a little bit of a continuation of the series. It mostly follows called Roberta's Blood Trails. There, it's focused on the character that got introduced early in the series. Well, actually, she came in season 2, I think. There, the maid. I think that episode was season 2. I want to say.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so.
who she's like this figure there that used to work for the government there of I think it was Colombia. There, she used to work as an assassin merchant
Yeah,
there, and then she got out of that life, then tried to do more household chores there, and she has a mission of protecting the boy there. And it's a lot about, like, a lot of these, for some reason, the show does have a lot of children being put into adult situations, because even with that, we see where she got introduced in that episode, where the boy, his father died, so he had to step up, and now he had to be the member of the family now, and do these decisions, get involved in this crime and everything like that. But yeah, including the Roberta's Blood Trail, so it's 29 episodes altogether that you see here. So not a very long one. There, not something like Hunter x Hunter there, but yeah.
thank
So,
God.
what were your thoughts on Black Lagoon? This was your first time seeing it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I wasn't really familiar with this before. It's also interesting to note that the show was canceled. It didn't have like a kind of ending, and the manga is still ongoing to this day, although it's not that long because the creator doesn't have official funding. He actually works on the chapters on his own time, so it's like a true passion project. He just kind of gets them out whenever he has the chance. But no, I found this to be pretty interesting. Right away I did think it was a little reminiscent of something like Cowboy Bebop, but of course, like you said, much more vile and kind of gross about it. Their ship is named Black Lagoon, kind of like how their ship is named the Bebop. So I see a few similarities there for sure. But I think it kind of comes down to Revy and Rock, like you said, as maybe the two main characters. And there's kind of Revy doesn't show it at first, but as the story goes along, I feel like there's this grass is greener on the other side character dynamic to them, where she sees the life he came from as, oh, you didn't have to worry about any of this violence, any of this hard, awful shit that I've had to go through in my life, any of these traumatic things. And then he kind of looks at her almost right away. And yeah, I think the reason he joins the crew as there's a jealousy in the freedom and the lack of responsibility to other people. I mean, he's a Japanese businessman working at a corporation that doesn't care about him. When he is kidnapped at the beginning, they basically say, just leave him. We're not paying for it if they're asking that much. So you kind of get sold out, and there's this interesting dichotomy between the two of them, where yeah, they see each other's lives as desirable in some interesting way, but are kind of looking past the faults of each other's lives, and it slowly they start to see those negative aspects of it as time goes on. And it's a really interesting story. I feel like we don't quite get a conclusion to that arc and to those ideas because it is based off of an incomplete source material, though.
Hey, how's it going there, Cal? What's up there, man? Uh, Cal, a friend of the Radiant from Maturity Twitch channel is there as well. Also a
Hey,
streamer
Cal.
himself. And also a friend of this channel. How's it going there, man? It's kind of one of those things, I compare it to like something like if they ever did a live action version of this, like something like you would see like Quentin Tarantino and Guy Ritchie do, because each character has their own kind of backstory, very interesting on their own, and could even lead their own show. I think, even if they weren't in this, you know what I mean? Like, Dutch has a very interesting backstory of like he was a former, Navy, I think captain or Navy, worker there, and also a former Marine there. So he's got his own interesting backstory that he kind of has a past of what brought him into this life. Benny has an interesting past of kind of what him brought him into this life as well. Being having past troubles with the law and him being kind of brought in there. Revi has her trouble past there with her father that kind of helped her, and also I think they say she was like a cop in it as well, like NYPD.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
she had a really kind of brutal experience with that, and kind of the other police in that lifestyle.
yes, and then very also diverse group here of the cast. Rivi is Chinese, Dutch, as we mentioned, is black, Benny's Jewish there, and then Rock is Japanese. So kind of this diverse crew that you kind of see here working this goal, and also you see the other kind of characters here, like we mentioned, the leader of Hotel Moscow. She could have her own series. You know what I mean? Of just
Yeah,
dealing with her and then her stuff, and we see a little bit of her backstory.
fit right into the John Wick movies, honestly.
Oh, yeah, she definitely would fit into a lot of the John Wick movies. There's also like each character is also very interesting. There's also another a group of people they run into, the ripoff nuns that they run into who run like a smuggling
Yeah,
operation, and they run into like another mirrored version of Revi called Etta there, who's like another version of Revi almost. And then they
with
did do
her Irish companions.
Irish companion and, the getaway driver there, that guy.
Yep.
Um, and, yeah, you see that, and Etta actually had her own spinoff, in the manga. She had her own spinoff there.
Okay.
And then you also see this network of assassins there, and, like, much like John Wick, they have also the people that deal with, like, the bodies and all the stuff like that. You see another character like that whose whole job is to dismember and to take care of that. That character got their own spinoff as well in the
Interesting.
manga.
Okay.
And it's a shame because, like you said, I mean, I guess they didn't know they were going to get canceled. Because some shows, when they know they're going to get canceled, so they can kind of do some kind of quick little wrap up real quick there before they do something there. It's like, okay, we can put something together real quick, even though we don't have we can do that. Yeah, so it's a shame that you don't really get a true ending to this there. But what did you think about the I guess the show when it kind of concluded with the last episode there?
I do think it leaves off in an interesting place, and there's a conclusion of a kind to come from that. I mean, they kind of close out the Roberta story arc that's set up right in the back in the second season, and you do get kind of what to me it felt like the show ended on this first inkling of is Rock as going to be able to maintain that more moral outlook that he has. Because I think it's right at the end of those OVA episodes where the characters start to kind of question Rock a little bit. Like, are you exactly the same as you were when you joined us? Is this world starting to have a bit of a negative effect on who you are and how you think? And it seems like it's a question that's brought up, and I think it's very interesting, but it's not explored all that much. It's something where I feel like we left off on a new idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In season 2, I think much more focuses on Revy and Rock and kind of their dynamic, 'cause there's a whole mission where they kinda just go and they're partnered together, and she's kind of there to protect him while he's doing he's the interpreter, for the woman that's leading the Hotel Moscow there, 'cause they're trying to do a deal with the Yakuza and have that kinda go there. He's there to be the interpreter, and then, yeah, he ends up, he just seems like maybe he doesn't have, what I mean, the heart for this because he gets involved with all these different things there. And it does have that sense of like you don't know where things are gonna go here, as far as the actions, because it's such a brutal world, um, in terms of everything that kind of happens. You're like, I don't know if the person they're trying to protect or want to save are they ever gonna save them? That's probably not gonna be
Right.
the case in something like this. And yeah, I mean, spoiler, they didn't end up, saving the Yakuza boss there, but it's at least they saved her from somebody else and a worse fate there that could have happened. But yeah, they didn't end up fully kind of saving her there. But really great dialogue between kind of the characters that you see here. And you see this kind of
Fantastic English dub.
yeah, really great English dub there. And you see kind of this developing relationship between Revy and Rock, and can you be a better person? Is being, can you just be warped and kind of jaded by this? I think very interesting discussions throughout the show. What do you think the show is trying to say ultimately? Here, a lot of the message.
Well, I do think it comes back to that idea of the grass being greener on the other side. It's like Rock has this kind of desire for freedom, but yet underestimates the chaos that could come with it. And Revi seems to almost, she hides it at first, but she does, as time goes on, seem to kind of give away this idea that she does want some more semblance of stability deeper down in her life, but yet underestimates the kind of restriction and control of kind of a corporatist society. It feels like a lot of it feels like a very big rejection of capitalism to me. It feels very critical of like Japanese work ethic culture, especially at least those first couple episodes setting everything up. Um, but also like the this island that they dock their ship at and spend a lot of time on in the Southeast China Sea. You have the Russian mob, the Yakuza, the Chinese mob, that like the triads. You have cartels, like you said. You have all these organizations kind of coalescing into this one place. You can almost smell how bad this place probably smell, like just booze and cigarettes and gunpowder. And yeah, I think it's kind of about the idea of freedom at the cost of chaos. I feel like is a really succinct way to describe the theme of it.
Mm, yeah. You kinda see that there, with this show, and, with these kinda different characters and the world they kinda work in. And you will see kinda recurring characters that do come back and do make kind of appearances, like different assassins. Like, there was that one assassin that was Taiwanese, the one that wore the dress, that did the knives. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's spoken more of kind of a broken English type, way there. Yeah, and at one moment you'll see that these people will be on the side of the Lagoon Company, and then the next moment they get a contract, like, "Oh, well, I gotta kill you." It's like, it's like what I gotta do because it conflicts with another job that you kinda see. And it
No
feels
honor among thieves and all that.
yeah, I mean, you do kinda see that there. And it feels like the 2nd season feels almost like what the 1st season usually of a show like this would be, where the 2nd season is very much case of the week type stuff of, like, they're running into different people, they're, getting these jobs, they have to protect these kinda different people to accomplish their mission. Did you kinda feel like that a little bit, like, more season 1, it was kinda more character focused, and then season 2 was a lot more like action and then a lot of case of the week type stuff?
To be honest, I kind of felt like both seasons have that case of the week element. I feel like it's like they get a job and it's like 3 to 4 episode arcs or so will be each job. And I think I do agree that they have a little bit more character heavy moments in the first season. But then I think season two, once it kind of winds up into the second half, those start to come back and spill in a little more again too. So I don't think it takes a super long break in terms of that balance between those things. I think it actually maintains it pretty well across both seasons for me.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned the critique on capitalism here because you see, like, he's living this kind of dull, mundane life that you see at the beginning. And then he's like, yeah, why not? I'll go with these pirates and do this world. And then it's like, ah, shit, he's getting shot at, he's getting blown up, he's, got to deal with children, assassins, Nazis. It's like, maybe my 9 to 5 job ain't so bad. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe it
Uh,
wasn't too bad. Well, and he does partially make that decision because he feels like even when he's a hostage being held by this crew in that first episode, they offer to for him to come out to drinks with them, even while he's the hostage. There's like almost a humanity that they treat him with that he's never experienced in his regular life, and he's like, well, you know what? This place is horrible and people are killing each other, but at least they seem to appreciate me for myself.
Yeah. And this is the creator of it, Rini Here. Hiroi is the
Okay.
creator. Yeah, he's with this here. Um, yeah. Do you think there's any kind of weak? I think he comes in with really with this strong characters. Do you think there's any weak link character wise in this?
I don't think there is. I guess my only maybe criticisms that's somewhere in that ballpark is that I do wish that Dutch and Benny maybe got as much character focused time as Rock and Revy do. Because I do think Dutch and Benny both have interesting characters and interesting backstories, and they have their moments, but I did feel like they were never as prominent, or some of their conversations, or they didn't have as many heavy conversations. And sure, you got to have your mains and your supporting cast. And I suppose maybe that's also a product of it having been canceled and just not getting to kind of continue as a story that may have come with time. But yeah, I maybe wish we got a little bit more with those two.
And this is Dutch and Benny, right here. This is both of them. Yeah, I would like to see kind of more, what they kind of do in the story and voicing Benny. So I watched the dub here. Brian Drummond did the voice of Benny
Ooh,
there, and the voice of Dutch was Dean Redmond, who did the voice of Dutch there.
okay,
And he also did War of the Planet of the Apes. Also, he did, and
okay,
he also appeared in Warcraft, the film. He also did that. So we'll
interesting.
see the voice actor and stunt person there. So very a lot of stuff with him. Yeah, and I think like I said, the voice work is really good here. Yeah, I would have liked to see some more stuff with them, with Benny and Dutch. Especially, I think you could have done some more interesting stuff, but I think, like you said, it's a byproduct of them getting canceled so early there that you
Yeah.
couldn't really elaborate on that. Do you know, like, maybe in the manga, do they get kind of a little bit more?
I'm not sure. It's honestly, it's something that I am really interested to pick up and read. It's only 13 books, despite how long it's been going. Like I said, he doesn't really have an official funding for it, so it's this like side passion project that he gets to when he can. So it's not a long read. So I wonder how much of it's even being adapted in this show, or how far into those books this is getting. But yeah, it seems like a really promising series.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I think it's a possibility. I mean, I would love to see it kinda come back, there for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Um,
don't think that's impossible. I mean, we've seen so many other things get resurrected after much longer periods of time than this. One thing I wonder if it will hinder that or not is, from what I understand, I had someone that was like a really, really big fan of the show, talking to me about just what they knew about it a little bit. And from what I understand, this was not particularly popular in Japan. It was actually a much more popular show in the West. And so I think that had a little bit of something to do with it going off. So I wonder if it does come back, would it come back as fully as an anime? Would it be something that requires maybe a more Western production just because of where it's popular? I don't know.
yeah. So the creator of the series says some of his inspiration. So James Elroy was one of his main
Mm,
inspirations there. It says also listed as John Woo, who you can definitely see that.
totally.
Quentin Tarantino, as I mentioned before, Robert Rodriguez, you can definitely see that influence
Oh
as well,
yeah.
especially with characters like the maid, the way that's
Oh yeah.
feels
It's
something
like a
on it.
Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator, like El Mirachi, something like that there, all those things, yeah, I mean, because she is coming after them, like, you know what I mean? Like, really like a Terminator, like superhuman, almost there. And a lot of the '90s kinda Hollywood films, Hong Kong action films there. And then, he also mentioned Pulp Fiction there, doing, like, kinda the
Mm,
action and the comedy there, kinda blending that. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And as dark as the kind of the show gets, as much action, there's kind of some funny moments there as well. Um, and this kind of world there that you kind of see, like you said, dealing with these kind of people who, deal in life and death. It's almost like this weird dark humor that kind of pops up in the show. What do you think about the humor in the show?
I actually thought it worked pretty well. It always felt believable within the character dynamics themselves. And like you said, with how dark it is and the dark subject matter of it all, it's almost more necessary, to look at it from the characters' perspectives, to be able to crack some of these dark jokes, just to be able to have some kind of relief on the mental strain of some of the things they're going through. I think you could easily have something like that be misplaced or tonally jarring, but I think it's always handled appropriately in this.
Yeah. I mean, after watching this, I had never seen this before, never heard about it before. There, by looking at animes to review to discuss, and I really liked it a lot. Really love these characters a lot. I always love a good ragtag kind of group of people there, and also people who are kind of morally gray there as well. Like I said, I mean, these people like they're maybe better in comparison to the other people you see in this world, and kinda doing the stuff that they doing, but it's not something like Cowboy Bebop where it's like I said, they're always gonna do the right thing, they're always kinda gonna be on the right side. It's like, nah, these people kinda deal in the gray area there. They do some kinda like, okay, not completely heartless, like the way they treat Rock. Even in the episode with the Nazis where they go kinda, go to the boat and then take it over and then kill all of them. There is a moment where Dutch kinda interrupts Revy and does stop her from killing, like, the people who are just working on the boat. He's like, "Yeah, no, this is just too much, like, let's settle down on that," you know what I mean? Let's kinda calm down
I
there.
think a lot of the time Dutch is like a babysitter for the other characters, where he's like, "All right, calm down, let the
Yeah.
adult handle this time."
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely the jet. I mean, he's the jet of the crew for sure.
He is. He is.
You do have that kinda going for him there, but yeah, so I kinda like that quite a bit, in it, and, like, it's a world that, like I said, anybody could really you could follow any of these characters, and they could be the main characters and kinda there, and I think that's always a great sign of a world that you could create, that anybody could really be the main character that you can kinda deal like, even Roberta, that you see there, like, you could have a whole miniseries, and they kinda did with her there, and they could
Yeah.
do something if they want to adapt the the manga with Etta and that character to rip off, the nun church that they're smuggling operation. If you want to adapt that and do something with that, I would be interested in seeing that. That would be pretty good. Um, this was great. I think this is kind of, you know, if I had to make a list of some of my favorite animes ever, I think this would be high up on that list.
Yeah.
I think it's that good. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Final thoughts rating for you for Black Lagoon.
Yeah, for me, this I think goes all the way up to a peak. I think the character dynamics are great. It's got a great English dub, which I'm a little picky about that sometimes, but I thought this one really really worked. It's got great segmented story arcs that do build on top of each other, and the character relationships evolve in not too fast but not too slow, satisfying ways. Uh, the only thing that could I'd say is really holding it back, and I think it could even go up another slot for me if it felt like it had a full conclusion to it. And I think that's the one hampering thing, is that it just never quite has an ending, never a full one. But I think that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a shot and watch it, because I think it is really really engaging. Yeah, so full peak for me.
Yeah, I agree. Full peak for me as well. We've got to mention the names Revy. So the English actor, Marky Hindreski,
Oh yes.
is the also the name of the woman who voices Revy there in the English dub,
Okay.
and then voicing Rock here you have Brad Swally, who's voicing there. He's done a lot of stuff. Man, he's got a long resume here. In animation, video games, film there, anime. Yeah, yeah. He's been in things like Resident Evil 4, he was in there, he's been in films, he was in the that's not pretty good, the live action Death Note movies, but he was in that. Um, yeah, he's got a great long resume there. He's also done Nightcrawler in X-Men Evolution, he voiced Nightcrawler there.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh, actually, yeah, thinking about it, oh, yeah, I do remember that voice, yeah, I gotta get that now, huh. Yeah, I thought this was, yeah, really, really good, really well done. The storytelling is really mature, really handled very well. What it has to say, I think is done very well. Yeah, I would love to revisit this world again. If they're to bring it back. I mean, hey, if he want to do some crowdfunding, try to bring it back, try to raise support, I'd be up for that. I'd support that.
Yeah,
I,
I'd chip in a few bucks.
if X-Men 97, if that can, hey, if X-Men can come back, hey, Black Lagoon, maybe that can come back too.
Hey, I hope so.
There, and I think the manga came out, when? I think the manga came out because it looks like something, with the manga here. Uh, '08, is when it came out.
Oh wait. Okay.
Yeah, that's when it came out, so, yeah, you kinda had that going on.
Yeah,
Oh,
13 volumes as of right now, I believe, and it is still ongoing.
mm, yeah. So 2 peaks for good old Black Lagoon. Yeah,
And hey, it's also just nice to see something that's grounded more in the real world because I feel like you don't get that a lot.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I said oh, I meant '02. Sorry, April
Oh,
19th,
too.
'02
Okay.
is when it happened. Yeah, '02, early 2000s there. Yeah. So this would be it's 22. Well, gotta go. I guess you gotta go when the anime started. So the anime's '06. So you gotta go when the anime started. There,
So,
'06.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so 18-year anniversary this year.
yeah. Oh, there. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, good old Black Lagoon there.